Hello and welcome to Trapped Emotions Podcast, episode 6. I'm your host, Andrew.
I'm your host, Tyler.
So, the last couple episodes, we've been getting into relationships with others and how they can affect our relationship with self. So, we're really going to get into understanding and loving ourselves through understanding relationships with others. And, Tyler, we talked a lot about, the struggles that you've had understanding and loving yourselves. So, how did you get from where you were there to where you are today?
Well, I think for me, the biggest thing was validation of my own feelings. You know, throughout this whole process, we've been talking in so many places where it was I had all this stuff going on and going through all these things, and I kind of lost a moment and felt like I wasn't able to feel the way I was feeling. You know what I mean? Which in turn, like, allowed me to have poor boundaries with myself, so on and so on. So, in order to really start really loving myself again, was to validate those feelings and understand it. Like, it's okay to feel this way. You know what I mean? That's kind of where I was at with it. Like, how do you deal with it?
Well, first, before I get into me, like, what kind of feelings are you learning to accept? Like the negative feelings that you
Yeah,
had?
so it was the negative feelings, right? Because we get stuck into this comparing ourselves to others,
Yeah.
right? Where it's, like, I don't really care about people's opinions. Like, I could care less how people perceive me, right? And like I always say, like, what you think of me is none of my business. So I don't care. It has no bearing on my life. However, the one thing I do is, like, I would compare myself to other people and be like, okay, they're here and I'm here. I'm putting in more work. I'm putting in more grind. I should have more shine, right? In my own personal life. So, like, because this is all a process, right? And for me, it was like, I wasn't validating the fact that, like, this is a process. It takes time to get to different things. And sometimes we burn so many bridges along the way that for me, I just wasn't validating my own feelings, and I felt like I wasn't able to have the feelings that I was having, which was like, it's okay to be where I'm at today in life. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? But like, I wanted to be somewhere different. We've been talking about this in all these episodes about expectations on self.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And like, my expectations for myself are just ridiculous,
Yeah.
ridiculous, right? Because they're so unattainable. And like, that's kind of the big thing for me, was just validating that and being able to say, like, man, it's okay, and stop comparing ourselves to others, and like, it's okay to feel like this.
See, I guess a big part of it for me was really not having as much self-worth as I should have had. And I didn't even realize it then, but I was settling in situations that were unhealthy for me because
Yeah.
I didn't think that I was able to have these good relationships with others, and I wasn't, and that helped me to realize that I wasn't really loving myself. And I didn't really understand not only myself, but what I wanted out of a relationship or out of
Mm-hmm.
life. And then those unhealthy comparisons that we were talking about earlier, we see these other perfect relationships, on social media
Yeah.
or whatnot, and then we compare ourselves to them and we wonder, like, why can't we be where these people are? And I think I struggle with that a lot, just not being okay with where I was. And just like you said, we have to understand and accept the fact that we're exactly where we need to be at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, a lot of my shadow work, which is understanding yourself and asking yourself questions, why am I feeling this way? What can I do to fix it? We tend to learn that a lot of the ways that we're feeling has nothing to do with what's going on at that moment, but maybe past things that have happened to us, traumas that we never dealt with or really understood. And I guess once I started to understand that that's really where it was coming from and not my current situation in life, I was able to go back and work through those things so that I could understand and have a healthier relationship with myself.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I like that. One thing I've been talking about is survivor's guilt, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I always say, and like when we do speaking engagements at places, like we have like a format we say, and I'll tell people like that light just went out, but I'll tell people like like I have a bunch of survivor's guilt, so that plays another part in this too, right? For me, because it's like I also don't believe that I should be where I'm at in life too, right? It's a double-edged sword. I want to be different, I want to be further, but at the same time I don't believe that I deserve to be where I'm at because at the same time like like we talked about like all our people are dead, right? For the most part. Like we got a few that are still alive and kicking. Um but like that always is messed with me cuz I'm always like, man, like right now even, right? Like in my mind, like I see on that couch over there, like Terry should be here, Leland should be there, like all these people should be here, and like Dorian should be here. We should be laughing, joking, but like they're not. And like I always felt like, man, I shouldn't be where I'm at. So that in turn, I put toxic people in my life, right? And we've talked about this on a couple episodes, but I allow toxic people in my life, um, which is also why one of the things I had to learn was that it's okay to let go of some people, right? Because I'll hold toxic people into my life and be like, man, I want them to change because I don't want to lose them too. But at the same time, just like I just said, maybe I was okay with where I was at, and like maybe they're okay with where they're at, and I have to accept it. Like it's okay to let go of those people, and I have to let go of those people. Take it to grief and loss, I have to let go of the people that have passed and understand that like they all wanted me to be in this position anyway. You know what I mean? Because like when we first got clean, like they were the ones that were really pushing me. Like, no, don't come back to this. Keep going, keep going, keep going. You know what I mean? So this is the craziness that goes on in my head on a daily basis. Is that survivor skill? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get it. And it's funny you said that about not feeling like you deserve to be where you should be. And I wouldn't say I feel like I don't deserve that, but just upstairs I was talking with my girlfriend about work because I bought some new dress clothes for work and I'm in a position at work now
They got you
where
wearing dress clothes instead of your
where
uniform.
I get to dress up every day and sell,
Nice.
for the company that I work for, a very prominent company. And like I go back there and I was saying to her, I said, what if like I really didn't do this? Like what if I was just lying about my whole life to trick you and everything? And the reason I said this is because like for a second I realized like, wow, this is really where I am in life. How did I get here from where I
Yeah.
used to be 10 years ago? And the last couple years that I've talked about throughout these, episodes, I've really gotten to the point where I spent the last year and a half or so, 2 years, trying to understand myself and love myself. And through that, I realized that I really didn't have much value for myself, which is why
Mm,
I put myself into situations around the people that I did. And
yeah.
today, loving myself and understanding myself and where I need to be, I'm able to cut those people off who are holding me back and not let that negativity in my life and not settle for those people that I I don't want to say I deserve better than, but like, those people that aren't helping me progress, those people that with them being in my life, it's going to be hard for me to do what I'm doing to move forward. And so from going from where I was a couple years ago, not really understanding it, wondering why I'm stuck in these dead end relationships with, friends and intimate relationships too. I've realized that it was me holding myself back and me not loving myself and understanding where I needed to be.
You know, you know what's funny that you say that is, you know what was crazy is like I think one of the things that I would do is like I validated myself through my shoes. Right? Sounds stupid.
And you're actually wearing
I'm
shoes
actually
today.
wearing shoes today.
He usually
Right?
wears slippers, house slippers.
Right. And I do that because the greatest thing that ever happened to me was I lost everything. Right? And I lost everything in recovery. I lost everything.
Mm.
Right? And that was the greatest thing that ever happened to me because it really made me have to sit with me, and like I no longer got value out of things, right? Because I always had this value on these things. So for me, it was being able to let go of that and understand like none of these things like make me, right? And like even job positions I've held, like when I would dress up, right, put on a shirt, tie, and all that stuff, always felt better, right? But like it was a mask because it's not who I am, right? Like who I am is, you know, gym shorts, a wife beater, and flip flops out here just shuffling around, you know. But like it was almost like I was afraid to be myself. And at the same time, on the other note to what you were saying, one of the things that I learned with letting go of toxic people was it's okay to say no, right? Like it's okay to say no because you know, I wasn't taking care of my own basic needs a lot of the times because I wasn't saying no to people. I'd, you know, 3 o'clock in the morning, somebody's calling me, Tyler, I'm stuck. Da, da, da. Yeah, I'll be there. Yeah, no, I won't be there. Like, I'm sorry and I wish I could help you, but like, I have to go to work in like 2 hours. And like, I don't want to leave you stranded, but like, I know I'm not the only person that you can call, especially if you're standing downtown. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
like, so like I have to remind myself like there's a lot of situations that happen that like it's okay to say no. And like we get stuck in that concept, right? Hey man, I need $20. Shit, I only got like $40. All right, here you go, right? And then I'm like standing here like, damn, that was my money. Like now I got to figure out how to make $20 last me for food for the week instead of $40 because I just gave 20, right? Because I'm that guy. Like I'm that guy that here, you need something here, take my shirt, right?
Mm.
You need a car here, man, just take my keys, I'll take the bus, right? Like weird shit like that. And like something I had to learn was like stop doing that and be able to say like no. Like I can't, I'm not in the position to do these things, right? And we get, and I know you do this too. Like you're the same way, right? Like we both are, where like we're not in the position sometimes to do these things to help people, but yet we'll still bust our ass to help people. In turn, my mind goes crazy, right? Because now I'm struggling. Now I'm feeling some type of way. Anger and resentments kick in, which then plays on my self value, my self worth. Then I feel unvalidated, right? Because I'm like, are these people just messing with me, right? Well, I'm out here busting my ass to help people, and like, I just need to move a couch from one place to another. And like, I ain't got nobody to help me move a couch, right? I'm like, what the hell? Where are these people at, right? And like, that's something I have to remind myself, man. Just like Nancy Reagan, just say no sometimes, you know?
No, definitely. I've learned that a lot in this last year or so, especially because
Amen.
because I've realized I've given so much of myself to others that when I do that, I tend to stop focusing on what I need as a person and
Yeah.
what I need to better myself. And I was just watching a podcast where Ice-T was on there, and he said, just say no to people,
Yeah.
because he said, let's say you
He
tell
gave the
someone,
airport scenario.
yeah, he said,
Greatest scenario
let's
ever.
say you tell someone, yeah, I'll take it to the airport. So not only do you have to wake up early, you have to drive there to get them, and then you have to drive through traffic to get them there on time. And if something happens to where they're late, it's your fault. So you take on all that person's responsibility and problems. just to help them out.
And they get to be mad at you if you're late, right?
Exactly.
Shout out to Ice-T,
Yeah,
even though
thank
he'll
you.
never watch us. But hey, maybe one day, right? Colors.
So so that really helped me understand that it's okay to just say no to some people,
Mm-hmm.
because not everyone is there because they just need a little help at that time. Some people are accustomed to only getting help from others and to using others.
Mm-hmm.
And in their defense, not everybody knows that they're like that. But at the same time, we have to realize when helping someone else and being there for someone else is really hurting us and where we're trying to be and what we're trying to do. And you know, through the different relationships with people over the years, like I said, whether they be intimate or friendships, I've realized that I've been there a lot for people that weren't able to be there for me and that maybe didn't want to be there for me, that just wanted to use me because they knew that I would be there for them and give them what they needed. And so cutting those people off and realizing that they weren't gonna help me to be where I needed to be was a huge revelation. And you know what they say, look at the five people that around you, your five best friends, and that's who you're gonna be. So if I have these people who aren't progressing and who are just using other people to get ahead to where they need to be, then I'm never gonna progress. So saying no is huge to me.
I mean, I agree with that. But I think at the same time, like we every single person on this earth, we utilize other people for our stepping stones, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which, if we really look at what we're talking about, so now here comes the psychology side of it, right? This is growing up with not enough acceptance and too much shame and guilt, right? But definitely like not enough acceptance, right? And I remember this like even as a child and like in well shit even in active addiction, right? When I was in active addiction, a lot of that was really like just being accepted, right? And like then afterwards it's a lot of these relationships that I've been in that are failed relationships was me seeking that acceptance from other people, right? um and like one of the things that we talked about that I haven't really talked about on here is accepting myself for who I am and like accepting that I'm okay, right? So we were talking like this is a insecurity of mine, like I'm covered in tattoos, right? Like covered. In fact, I have an appointment to go to another one, right? Because I'm working on covering the lower body, but like my whole upper body is basically done. It's like 90% done.
Except for the face and neck. Huh?
And well, we ain't doing that nonsense, right? We ain't doing that. You don't put bumper stickers on a Ferrari,
Oh.
right? So I ain't doing the face, but nah, like in all seriousness, right? So like I do that, and a lot of the reason why I that became a thing for me was because of it was the self acceptance. It was me gaining self acceptance for myself because I was unhappy with the way that I looked, right? And like I was unhappy with the way I looked in a mirror. So like I cover myself in all these tattoos because in a sense, it's like I always have clothes on, right? Because like I didn't care for myself, I didn't like myself. I didn't like the way I looked. So then I got all these tattoos, and now I'm like heavily covered, and it gains attention,
Mm-hmm.
right? And like now I'm ashamed of it, right? Like I'm ashamed of it. And like anybody who's watching them wants to get like heavily covered in tattoos, you really got to think about this, right? Like I'm in a position now where like I just keep getting them because like why the hell not, right? But we went to the beach, right? I went down to the beach and like I took my shirt off and I'm in shorts, right? And like the looks from everybody, right? And like people move, like old people, like older people, kind of like move away and stuff. And I'm like, man, like I'm not a criminal. And like, but people associate that now, right? The
Hmm.
more tattoos you have, the more criminal they think you are, right? And like meanwhile, I'm sitting here like, you know how much money is wrapped into my body? The last thing I'm gonna do is steal your purse, right? I got more than what's in your. I got a new car on my body, right? But and the thing is like I had to learn. Like it's weird because now I'm in this position where sometimes like I want to cover up because like I'm almost like, oh man, where am I at? Is this okay to be? Because like I'm like heavily tattooed now, and I'm like, oh no, like I don't know if I like this, right? But I mean, what am I gonna do? It's not like I'm
Right.
gonna take a cheese grater and take them off, you know?
See, now that really got me thinking because what do I do to mask who I don't want to show people? Because I was never really into the tattoos. You know, before I got sober, I wanted more tattoos, but I never had the money then. But then when I got sober, I had the money and I didn't want them. You
Mm.
know, so maybe what I used to mask was possibly, hmm, now you really got me thinking. Like, you really got me thinking. What, because I mean, evidently, I knew that evidently I wasn't comfortable throughout the years in early sobriety. You know, I wasn't comfortable with myself. I was always trying to do things, which could be like I was always trying to improve my situation. I was always trying to do this. I opened up the 3/4 house. You know, I got a decent job when I first got out, and I started going to the gym. So this is what okay. So I use these outside influences to maybe possibly give people, you know, a different perspective of who I wanted them to think I was, you know. But today, like, the good thing is I am comfortable with where I am. I love myself. I really do, you know, and I have a lot of good people around me today
Hmm.
who love me too, you know, and I don't feel like I need to go outside of myself to prove to others who I want to, how I want to say this, to prove to others who I want them to see, you know? Like, I'm just okay with myself. And that took a lot of time. That took years to get to the point where I said, I don't really care what anyone thinks of me. Because I would say that in early recovery, but then I would be going to the gym. And I'd be, you know, I'd be in the mirror, oh, looking at my abs, okay, and I need to get my biceps a little bigger, and I'd be, you know, posting pictures on Snapchat or Facebook, you know, because I wanted those compliments. I wanted people to say, "Oh, wow, like I accept you for who you are."
That's a good healthy skill though, right? Like because exercise can be a double-edged sword too, right? Which reminds me that I'm here. I'm gonna give you some money. I'm gonna take that bench from you from out here because I have a gym at my house, right? But I don't. So it's funny because I used to work out in the sense of like I wanna look better, right?
That vanity aspect.
Now I work out because I want to think better. It's become a healthy coping skill for me, right? Is because I don't even know what like I'll just pick it up, put it down, right? And like for me, it just feels better because it makes me. I know the difference.
Hmm.
I know the difference when I'm working out and when I'm not working out. When I'm not working out, I feel like a mess in my mind, right? When I am working out, my mind feels clear. I feel happier, and I feel I don't look in the mirror as much, which is weird, right? Because like I don't care as much. But when I am not working out, I'll look in the mirror like, does this match? How's this making me look? Yada yada yada. But like when I'm heavily working out again on my normal routine, like I don't even care, which is interesting. It's an interesting reverse role.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I remember when I worked out, it was just I had to scale and I was always checking my weight
Well, you were
because
crazy with it.
yeah, like I was running a 5K
Drink this protein.
at least once a week at the gym, and I tried to run a 5K every day on break at work when I worked at Polk. And I was eating super healthy, you know, I was portioning my meals. And honestly, like that was just me trying to reach a point physically where I possibly got more acceptance from others. And it's funny because we were at Walmart last night, me and my girlfriend, after we left the Bigfoot Festival. And
How was that, by the way?
it was, I mean, they just had vendors there selling Bigfoot stuff. And we got a really cool wooden slat picture. Like you text them a picture of any picture you want, and they will print it on these wood slats, and it's pretty cool. We got it out there. We got to hang it up in the house somewhere. But anyway, so like after we were coming back from that, we stopped at Walmart, and I was walking past. We were walking through the aisle getting stuff, and there was a scale, and I was like, wow, I haven't had a scale the whole time I've lived at this house because it got lost. And I thought for a second, like, oh, I could really use a scale, but I was like, why? Like, why does that matter? That's just me being overcritical of myself. And hitting on that real quick, because we touched on it the last episode, and I've realized that being as critical as I am with myself, it really makes me trying to think. I knew exactly how I wanted to say this. When I'm too critical of myself, it makes me focus less on the things that I really need to change. And because I see these things that really bother me, but like we said earlier, the way that I act and the things that keep coming up in my life are things that, I'm where I need to be. So with me being as critical on myself, it makes me focus less on the solution, and I'm focusing on more of the problem. So
I mean, I like that. And Justin just messaged me. I actually just had to message him back. That's why I looked like I was doing all kinds of crazy stuff. I don't want people to be like, what the hell is Tyler doing? It's because Justin, he ain't here again, but he's off running some errands today. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Um, no, like I like that. And something you said is just being okay, right? And like I'm okay today. And you know why I'm okay? Is because it's funny because the last couple episodes, like we were talking about how like I was gonna try to date again, right?
mm-hmm.
That's crazy, right? That ain't for me, right? That ain't for me because one, I have trust issues, right? And like you had mentioned social media, and like I watch people on social media talk about, oh, I love this person, but like you're not loving them in the private messages, right? It's wild out here. So one thing I did was like I stopped that, right? Like I ain't trying to like I'm cool. Like I ain't out here trying to act like search for anybody or nothing. Like that'll happen whenever it happens.
We'll
And
see you on
like
episode 8,
yeah, no, I'm
episode
cool.
7.
I'm cool with that, right? Like I'm not. So I guess the point is that I'm making is like I stopped actively searching for that, right? Because I was searching for that in a sense. I was like, man, I need to be in like I kind of want to do a relationship thing because like I thrive in a relationship, right?
You
Because like
think you do? It's
I
that
think I do.
codependency
Right, right.
you struggle with. We've talked about.
By not doing that, like I'm okay, right? Like I'm okay. Like me and Pickles are cool, right? Me and Pickles are just sitting there, we're chilling, and like we're cool, and like I think that's the biggest aspect is like I'm not doing that in the sense of like I'm just out here just trying to be me. I'll find the relationship thing whenever it happens. It'll happen. It'll just be spontaneous, whatever. But the biggest thing for me is like I think that was taking a lot away from me, right? Because I'm talking to like 10 different people, trying to get to know 10 different people, and like I'm getting irritated with people, right? Because I'm like, man, just be you. Tell me you, right? And I'm over here like I'm just trying to be me, right? So like, and then I'm overthinking stuff because I'm like, because you and I had talked many times, and we talked on here about it. Is in the beginning I had said, You know, like I want to know all these things up front. Well, that kind of opened up a floodgate, and like, be careful what you ask for, I guess. Um, because like again, I don't want to know all that up front, right? Like I wanted to know like, oh, you have some insecurity problems maybe, but I don't need to know the reasons why. Well, it's been the reverse effect I found, where like people message me the reasons why, and I'm just like, okay, and I'm like, this is too much, and that's taking away from me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was taken away from my focus of like what we're doing, and it's taken away from my own mental stability in a sense. And at the same time, like I said, like it even plays on my trust issues, right? Because I'm like, man, this girl over here, I love this person, but like you're messaging about like we should hang out. No, we shouldn't. Like you're in a relationship. What are you messaging me for, right? Or and it's funny because I was talking to my sister about this, Nikki, my sister-in-law, and that's what I call her at least, and she says the same thing on the reverse effect. She's like, yeah, like I'll see guys talk about how much they love their girl, but then they'll message me, can we hang out? Social media is wild, right? Like, that's a wild thing. And I think social media has created this idea that, like, so that's why I think, like, we are where we are today in relationships. Is because, like, social media, in a sense, has kind of ruined that form of relationships. Like, nobody's going outside anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'll see people, it's wild. Like, I'll see people at the store that I know. I'll be like, hey, man, what's up? Hey, what's going on? I'll get in my car and like I'll get Facebook messages from them. I'm like, I just saw you. Like, why didn't you have this conversation when we were there? I'm a face to face talker. Like, man, I would have said, let's go get some coffee, have a face to face talk, right? But like, it's weird. I think social media has kind of affected the way relationships play out today in this world, right? And like, that's wild, right? Because think about when we were younger, dude. I had healthy relationships when we were younger, right? You know why? Because we were outside. I had no choice, right? Running around in that Schwinn Predator with the pegs. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
Riding around as kids. I got my wheels. But we were outside and we had to go. Like, if I wanted to talk to you, I had to call your home phone. And, like, if you weren't there, I'm not talking to you, right? Or it was, I would call you and be like, hey, I'll meet you in Third Ward. All right, I'll meet you down there. And we'd meet each other in Third Ward. Or it was, I'll meet you at McDonald's. We'd meet at McDonald's. Or it was, I'll meet you at Sheets and we'll meet at Sheets, right? So now it ain't like that. Now it's I'll see you, I'll talk to these people, and then it's when I'm at home, you want to have 20 million conversations on social media. Why are we doing this? It's affecting our relationships with people. It's affecting our social skills, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree
I'm
because
fucking antisocial now, bro. And like I was never antisocial. You know
li-
what I mean?
like I was saying earlier about social media, like everybody portrays that false sense of reality and that false sense of who they really are because no one wants to show people, the deep down dirty. I shouldn't say secrets, but
Dirty deeds.
I guess just like nobody wants to show people the reality because it's so much easier to put a false sense of yourself out on social media. And then when someone sees you, of course, like out and about, they don't want to talk to you because maybe then you're gonna see the real them. And nobody wants to see the real them.
I don't know, man. I think
And
it's ruining our social skills.
I mean it is. And we can get into that in another one, but real quick, before we end this thing, you were talking about, these relationships that you were in. And it really had me thinking, for 5 years, from like 2017 to 2022, I was basically in a relationship consecutively, with only having maybe a month or two in between. And
Never good.
realizing
Mm.
that, like, I got to the point where after every failed relationship, I wasn't really sitting back and looking at myself and seeing not only what I did wrong in a relationship, but what I could do to heal myself so I didn't get into another relationship like that again. But really, what I ended up doing was just getting into the same type of relationships over and over and over again, hoping that this one would be different than the last. And until I got to that point last year, the beginning of the year when I stopped dating for a while and wanted to get to know myself, I I was miserable. I was miserable in just about
Mm-hmm.
every relationship. And so I got to that point where I was like, man, I really need to see what I want out of a relationship. And before I could see what I wanted out of a relationship, I had to see what I wanted out of myself. And I had to
Mm.
see what I needed to be happy. What do I need to make myself happy? Because I used the relationships for those 5 years to make me happy. Like I would be in this place where just like you, I was thinking, wow, like I need to be in a relationship. I can picture this perfect relationship with someone and I can see myself being super happy and just everything's great. You know, Aubrey has a mother figure around or
I'll
it's
try to
just
beat that.
a woman figure around, and just like you have this false sense of what you think it's going to be like. And the fact is
Mm.
I never really.
You think you compare the relationship to relationship?
No, I mean kinda, but what I'm trying to get at is I wasn't really understanding what I wanted for myself. And so I was getting to a point where I was accepting these people into my life because that's what I was so used to. Because I didn't give myself time to understand and love me. And
Yeah.
so I guess that's where I was going with that.
No, I like that. And I'll say this real quick and wrap it up since we just lost another light because they weren't fully charged. This one's going to go too. Um, no, I like that. And I say that the reason why I ask that question is comparing a relationship to a relationship, right? Is because that's the trap that keeps me in toxic relationships, right?
Mhm.
Is because I move from one relationship that's toxic. I'll get into another one and be like, well, at least this isn't happening. But it doesn't mean that it's not toxic. It
Mhm.
just means that like that isn't the last toxic trait that I really hated about the last relationship isn't happening, but this one still is, right? So I think that's the trap that we all, me, you, everybody here, I think we all get stuck into this sometimes. And I'll hear people tell me about their relationships, even girls, right? Like I've talked to a few girls that like they'll talk to me and they'll be like, well, at least he's not physically assaulting me. And I'll be like, right, but like mental abuse and emotional abuse are the same thing too, right? And like I would rather be beat up physically than take mental and emotional abuse any day, right? And like I think sometimes that's the trap of toxic relationships, right? That's the trapped emotion,
Mhm.
right? Is we compare all this other bullshit and say, well, it's at least it's not this, but it doesn't mean that it's okay. It just means that like one toxic trait isn't there, even though there's 10 others, right? I think I'll go ahead and end on that since we got our lights going out and we've been here for quite a minute. Um, yeah, I think that's a good topic for us to talk about, right?
Well,
Which
it's specifically well,
like the comparisons,
comparison.
right? Which oddly enough, those of you that are watching, one thing I know everybody messages us privately on our Facebook and stuff, but sometimes that gets lost in a sea of messages. So I apologize if I haven't got back to you because it gets lost in a thing. But under this video, man, comment, right? Put a comment on there. Tell us what you want us to talk about too, right? Because this is also your guys' show. So, like, tell us what you want us to talk about as well. Um, but until then, I mean, we'll just keep randomly talking about stuff, and I hope you like it, and I hope you share it, and I hope you subscribe to it, and I hope you share it again, and tell all your friends to subscribe.
Yes, definitely. Like, share, and subscribe. I've been hearing from people that say, hey, we don't have YouTube accounts. Get a YouTube account
Right
and
down.
like, share, and subscribe. We got it. We got it for you. You know, you'll get all kinds of notifications and it'll help us out. And, you know, the more of a following we get, you know, hopefully the more we can get into different subjects and figure out what people really want to hear from us. Because we got lots of things to talk about. You know, we've been through a lot and we've, you know, had some struggles finding ourselves out and figuring out where we needed to be in life, you know. So all those struggles build a lot of understanding within us. So thank you so much. Episode 6 is done.